So The Flash is finally out after years of build up and pushed back release dates. It's finally hit the big screen in theaters. And for those who don't know, The Flash is actually my favorite character in the comics, so obviously I was way more invested in this movie compared to a lot of other superhero movies over the last couple of years, just to be intrigued by what DC was gonna do, despite me having a lack of faith in the franchise as a whole. But I have to say, with all of the reviews I've seen on this movie, it's really a hit or miss with people. Either people love this movie and are praising it way too much, or they hate this movie and they're shitting on it way too much. There doesn't seem to be a middle ground with the consensus of this movie, and that's not really surprising considering the controversy behind Ezra Miller. And trust me, I don't condone anything that man has done. Hopefully one day he pays for his crimes, but in today's video we're gonna discuss the movie itself and why I believe The Flash is so underrated right now, and it's low-key a decent, solid superhero film. Now I know when I say that, that's pretty controversial, as when it comes to DC, it seems like there are just some people that want to hate on everything that they throw out there, and trust me, I have criticized DC a lot in the past, so I understand, but you have to give them credit where it's due. A lot of the elements in this Flash movie I thought were executed pretty well, and there were some elements that were executed pretty bad, so let's talk about the former before we get to the positive and why I actually thought it was a decent movie. For starters, let's be serious here. The one thing that just stands out and leaps off the page of how bad this movie can be at times is the CGI. The CGI and effects can be really solid at points in the film, because trust me, there are some scenes that you can find that are pretty decent, but then you get into some scenes, hell, even scenes where it was just Barry and Barry on the screen. I am not gonna lie, there were times you could just tell one was clearly CGI. And for a film that has a lot of CGI with effects of them running back in time or fighting at the end, it's very noticeable that some of these effects look like the Injustice video game. But then you get into the fact that at the end it's just a CGI nightmare. I'm not gonna lie, it's really bad. Another thing that's kind of annoying at times is that Ezra Miller has some scenes where it's really hit or miss. I'm not gonna lie to you. Like there was a scene where he was talking to his former self about how he was so annoying, and I thought the dialogue in the script was not bad there, but I don't think his delivery talking to his past self was really that good. And there are a couple of scenes where Ezra Miller just did not hit for me, but then there are some scenes like when he talked to his mom at the end of the movie. I thought he did a fantastic job there. I really felt that emotional connection. I felt so sad for him, I'm not gonna lie. Another problem I have with the movie is outside of the CGI ending, the ending itself is pretty poorly managed up until the last part where he talks to his mom, saves his dad, and does all that stuff. I mean, people were talking about the fan service with Michael Keaton, but that wasn't even the fan service of the movie in my opinion. The fan service was the cameos at the end of all the other DC universes. That was so unnecessary. It added literally nothing to the plot in my opinion, and it was just not needed at all. Now outside of those major issues, I didn't have a big problem with anything else in the movie. I liked a lot of what they did with the characters and the story. For starters, I know a lot of people probably complained about Barry being very annoying, not only in this movie but even in the Justice League film. It seemed like they were trying to make him a knockoff DC Spider-Man, but that's not really Barry Allen's shtick. If anything, that's more of a Wally West type of thing, not Barry Allen. But regardless of how you feel about how annoying he was, it was a part of the story. Barry being able to go back in time and talk to his past self and understand just how annoying he really is when he's trying to accomplish a serious goal of getting back to his reality. I think it was a cool plot device, because in all actuality they're basically telling you, yes, we know he's annoying, but it leads into this story. It seems this movie really is self-aware of a lot of problems that people have complained about the Flash in the Justice League movie, and decided to kind of use that thinking against them in this film. Another thing I like about this film is the fact that Barry Allen has his origin story told in a way that's very creative. Obviously you can't replicate the exact Flashpoint comic in this film, you want to change things up, and I understand that, but one thing I didn't expect was for them to retell his origin story, and I thought that was very smart of DC to do in this film, because unlike Spider-Man or Batman or Superman, this is not a character that is just well known to the mass public. Of course, you've had CW shows like Smallville or The Flash that have had iterations of the Flash character, but the CW is just not a big enough platform to reach a mass audience the way that movies can. And the way that they were able to go over his origin story with two versions of Barry Allen, one from the future and one actually going through the origin story himself in the past, I thought it was a pretty creative way to retell that. Ezra Miller, for the most part, even though I said he was hit or miss miss on some scenes, he did a really good job of portraying both Barry Allens and having a difference in approach in their mentality. One Barry was clearly trying to accomplish his goal of just trying to get to the future and correcting his mistake, and the other Barry was clearly trying to just adapt to his powers, and he was happy and grateful for what he has already. And because of his optimism, you could understand why he felt the need to keep correcting the timeline over and over and over at the end, trying to resave Kara. I also really liked Michael Keaton in this film. I thought he did a really good job, not only with the whole Batman reiteration, but it's clear that he's taking some influence from the dude from The Big Lebowski. And I was scared because when it was announced that Michael Keaton was gonna be in this film through the trailers, I was scared that they were gonna make him such a big focal point, and though he was a focal point in the film, I don't think he was that big of a deal to take away attention from Barry Allen. This film also does a really good job at explaining Barry Allen's abilities to people who do not know. As I said earlier, the Flash is not somebody that is just well known throughout a lot of people in the mass media. And what I mean by that is if you ask a lot of people what are the Flash's powers, they will just tell you, oh, he has super speed, he can run really fast. Well, there's more to his character and his powers than just the ability to run super fast. I mean, off rip, the first scene that you see of him as the Flash, he is saving a bunch of babies, a woman, and a dog from a falling building. Off rip, in the beginning of the movie, they tell you and establish the fact that he has to burn so many calories in order to run so fast. I mean, hell, even aside from the time travel also, they talked about his lightning and his ability to attack with that power. They really touched on a lot of things in this film that I did not expect them to do. Another thing about this movie that I liked, because I did address the Michael Keaton Batman, we forgot that there's actually two Batmen in this movie. Ben Affleck, in my opinion, did a pretty solid job. I liked his suit. I liked the talk that he had with Barry Allen, establishing that connection between the two characters. And I won't lie, I will always wonder what a Ben Affleck Batman solo film will be. And unintentionally, this movie made me a little bit sad that we're not gonna get something like that. Of course, this movie is not perfect. Like I mentioned earlier, the CGI has to be the biggest problem of this film. It really pulls you out of it at times. But I think for what The Flash is, the movie is good. Honestly, it's not a bad movie. It's not something that I would recommend you go and watch immediately in the theaters. But if this were something that actually just dropped on like HBO or Netflix or whatever, some type of streaming service, I actually think I would have enjoyed it a lot more than going to watch it in a theater. And that doesn't mean it's a bad movie. I just think that some movies are meant to be more enjoyed in a chill, relaxed environment, and that's what I think The Flash is. It's a decent, solid superhero movie that has some good elements, and I know we're probably not going to get a sequel for obvious reasons, but I enjoyed what I saw in the theater with this film. So as far as my rating for DCEU's The Flash starring criminal Ezra Miller, I'm gonna give it a 6 out of 10.
Take a step out, get some air now, let your edge out. To some iceberg, you'll be heavy in my mind. Can you get the heck out? I need rest now, got me bummed out.